There's a big difference between saying this is a process and this is a project. And we want to make sure that we're differentiating those so that we're not just taking somebody's job description and moving it onto a project planner and just basically defining and unpacking their job description.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast, chiropractic's #1 business podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And we are, as you guessed it, super stoked to be here with you guys today. Man, I hope you guys figure out the fact that we love doing this. What an awesome platform. Thank you, Lord. I like to say that you don't have to share a message because you have a platform. You have a platform because you have a message you have to share, right? So we definitely do. We believe that you can create a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. And here's a secret recipe. Ready? Not so secret. You have to create the business that supports your remarkable life and not competes with it, right? So that's absolutely what we're here to do and help you guys do that. And we're in the throes of this battle with you. We are running businesses. So don't think that we are the old wise sages sitting up on the mountaintop looking down on everybody being like, oh, no. We are in the throes of it, right? And today we're going to be bringing you some of the blood, sweat, and tears coming from our quarterly pulse meetings that we're having right now. We're in the middle of we're at the halftime between 2 days of our board meetings, right? So we're coming in hot, baby. We're coming in hot, but I'm not so hot because I'm just fresh out of the cold plunge, Dr. Pete. I've got my son Sam here with a bunch of 20-year-olds, and of course we had to start the day in the cold. Man, it's crisp out there here in New Hampshire in an October morning, but there's nothing like watching the response and the reaction of some humans when you throw them in 40-degree water and watching these 20-year-olds, some of them for the first time doing it, and then just standing in the yard, just in a state of prayer and doing their breath work and letting the sun bake on them and warm them up. Man, my heart is full.
What an advantage. You and I were talking about, like, what were you doing? You were 20, and here these guys are.
I was sleeping off whatever I did on Friday night.
It's awesome. But, we talked about how important it is to, the bubble. We have an episode on that. A couple great episodes on things regarding raising kids and families. And one of them was the story about the bubble. And that made me think of that. My cold plunge this morning was 42 degrees. So that's what I was in this morning. I had a wonderful morning time, my morning meditation, my morning prayer, and my morning plunge and my morning workout before you and I hit the studio. So it's so valuable to me. It's something that is the most important thing to me. And I think as leaders in our organizations, it's really important, guys, that we continue to take care of ourselves. We had a brother of ours also recently, dear friend and colleague, amazing human being, pass, really unexpectedly recently. And I think it's in many ways, I think it causes all of us to take a moment to pause and to reflect on what's most important, and really, how am I spending my life? How am I spending my time? And this guy was an example of exactly how you want to do it. So his time came and he ran his race and he ran right to the end, and his race ended earlier than what maybe we all would have thought, but he ran his race. So with that, Dr. Stephen, just love the strong start to the day. It's such a big part. And, and obviously we're going to transition into our topic for today. You can see, today's topic is really about the differentiation between someone's job description and project or rock. Doc, this is coming fresh out of our own quarterly. And I've actually had to address this at times as well in our CEO masterminds as well, when we're discussing project planners. So Dr. Stephen, this is going to be very practical. We're going to keep it short, sweet, and to the point, right? We just want to make sure you guys are clear on, when it comes to every quarter, we need to be resetting our rocks, right? Setting our projects. What we want to make sure that you do is you don't confuse a job description and a responsibility associated with a job description and a rock or a project. And so, Dr. Steve, we're just going to spend a little bit of time here because this is something really important. It's a nuance, So if you're new to this conversation, you might say, to our podcast, new to the remarkable world, the remarkable business conversations we have, this might just not 100% land. But if you've been around with us and you've been with us for a while, this is a nuance that I think is really going to speak into some things, into your listening, hopefully, and be, oh, that was actually really helpful, really valuable. So Dr. Stephen, we're going to do some differentiation here during this conversation today.
Yeah. So I want to just double click on something that you said that will land, right? So it will resonate with everyone, at least all the on-purpose chiropractors that I know out there that consider themselves world changers. So as a leader, you have to own your role in the village is to protect the village, right? So, as a leader, whether we're talking about your home or we're talking about your business, your company, your tribe, however you want to think about it. Dr. Pete, you talked about the bubble. And I just think it's just so important that we just double click on it. And it's is absolutely related to our topic today, right? So, because our topic today is all about setting expectations and agreements. And that is just part of the role of a leader, right? So you've got bubbles in your world, right? So I know that there's the Camiolo bubble, right? There's a whole bunch of kids being raised inside of a bubble. And there's a Franson bubble. And that group, that pack of 6 20-year-old college students that's at my house right now, they are fully in the bubble, right? So, and we've done what we wanted to do. Like, we've got 5 wooded acres. It's a walking distance from a beach with the hell barn and the cold plunge and the sauna and the, and a kitchen where we cook 21 meals a week. And we, it's like, we have just we might as well build castle walls around the compound. Right. So, we are fully armed and you don't want to wander onto this property at night. It's like it is it's a compound. And as extreme or radical or weird as that might sound to an outsider, I think it really resonates with everyone that's listening right now. This is like, at the end of the day, these are my people. This is my territory. And I know my role is to protect the compound, right? So, and what I mean by that is establishing that bubble where my children, I'm just going to say it, they know the Lord, they know who they are and whose they are. They understand the paradigm inside out versus outside in. And they also understand outside in. They know that they are loved by him and by us and by each other. This is an incredibly safe place. You will be supported. You will get unconditional love and probably too much affection. You won't get unconditional approval of your behavior. It's like, we're going to let you know it if you're sideways, right? And we have them surrounded, right? So 3-generation family that's always here, and lots of amazing adults that they've grown up with and did life with, like Uncle Pete, right? Like Uncle Sebastian, like Uncle Brett, like Auntie Wendy and Auntie Lynn and Auntie Debbie and Uncle Joe. And they were all chiropractors. My kids thought everybody was a chiropractor until they were about 9. Right? So it's like, isn't everybody a chiropractor? Right. So I just want to call it out. Right. So people say, oh yeah, you know what? You can't raise your kids in a bubble. Bullshit. You absolutely will raise your kids in a bubble. The question is it going to be your bubble? Are you going to be the one that define the confines of that bubble? Are you going to set the expectations and set the agreements around what goes on in your bubble? And it's amazing. Like, I'm enjoying the 20-year-olds at my house right now. And Dr. Pete, you said it, that is the fruit of the work, right? So that's not lucky. We're blessed and highly favored, and we work really hard and intentionally around it. So whether it's your family or it's your business and your team, guys, I just want to encourage you. I want to encourage you that it's wicked hard, but it's worth it. The juice is worth the squeeze, and your kids, your family, your practice, your patients, they will be raised in a bubble. The question is it going to be your bubble?
It's good, Doc. Man, I know this wasn't necessarily the direction we plan to go, but what an important conversation. And I think it comes back to, and I'll try to relate this. So, for example, if I, as a parent, by being a parent, I have a responsibility, and there's certain things that come with the responsibility of parenting. It's not like when you have a child, you don't think, should I feed them or not? Or, should I clothe them? Or should I put a good roof over their head? Or should I give them a good education? Whatever. That's just part of the response. Should I teach them right from wrong? Should I give them, should I introduce them to this spiritual dimension? Should I and the list goes on, right? These are all part of the responsibility. So there's responsibilities as a parent. Then there's projects. There's projects like when you have a child who is trying to figure out what they want to do with their career, like with their life. Should I go to college? What career should I do? Whatever. That's now we're going into the realm of I have a responsibility, my KRAs, key responsibilities of being a parent under this roof, under my watch between 0 and 18. There is key responsibilities that come with this. And we can quantify those outcomes. We can quantify that level of focus, and we can get really clear on what that is. Then there's projects. Projects happen. And, a kid, goes through a health challenge. All of a sudden that becomes a bit of a project for the next, few months. We're going to really be focusing on restoring health because something happened to that child, or, going through some identity crisis with, maybe some challenges with the relationships with their peers at school. And, maybe some challenges there. We're just going to need to slow down and speed up. We're going to need to invest a little bit more time and energy and make this really is a project right now over this next, 3-6 months. We're going to really work on identity development because clearly there's been some sideways and some confusion going on, or, we're going off to college.
Or maybe
right?
they're starting a new school, or they're starting a new sport, or they're getting their driver's license. Like that, the identity, they just went from somebody who doesn't drive to now they're a driver, right?
Yeah.
So
I want to, because you were talking about this, I was thinking, man, this is so similar to our topic for today, which is like differentiate the responsibility. Like as a parent, it's just my responsibility. Like a lot of things is like, I don't really think about it. People are like, how do you, navigate the 5 kids, getting them out of all the places, feeding them, X number of meals per day times kids. Like how many meals is that every week? It's like, I don't know. I just do it. It's just part of the responsibility. But then there's projects, like you said, on top of it. And that's actually what we just want to put a bow on today is every quarter, you're resetting your projects, you're resetting rocks, you're redetermining what are the things that are the most important things that must get done this quarter for us to hit our goals and achieve the outcomes we set out to accomplish in our vision story. That's different than the fundamental responsibility of my role as a check-in CA or as an exam doctor or as an office manager, as a CEO. Don't get confused between your role, your job description, which is your role and responsibilities that come with that, versus the project. Those are two different things. Dr. Stephen, I'll throw it back to you because I know you're going to put a bow on it, but that's really ultimately what. We just need to we want to get better at this as businesses, and we want you guys to get better at this as well.
That's right. So this is maybe a bit of an advanced conversation, but you can hear Dr. Pete and I both have a little bit of angst around this because we're just coming out of this conversation with our team. It's like, what are you guys talking about? It's like every single quarter, you're going to take on the responsibility as a leader to create clarity with your team as to what's important now. So the leadership team of the CEO and the COO, or your clinic director and the office manager, your job is to say, okay, so this is what I want the business to be focused on. And then because you're in this role, this is what I want you in this role to be focusing on, right? So, and there's really 2 ways to create accountability around what we're telling them. One is your scorecard, and one is the 90-day project planner, right? So a scorecard is, listen, you have responsibilities because you're in a role. And a role is just another way of saying, listen, there's a set of responsibilities that are organized underneath this role. And because you're in this role, you own those responsibilities. All those responsibilities are measurable, and they create what's called a KPI, or a key performance indicator. So if you're in the check-in CA role, underneath check-in CA, we know based on that role, you are responsible for example, the schedule book and patient flow and compliance, right? So you're also responsible for promotion. So you've got internal new patient lead generation, right? So each one of these elements is measurable, right? And that's your job description. And those KPIs are your accountabilities, right? So you're responsible for behavior and you're accountable for the outcome, right? So, and it gets captured onto your scorecard. Now, the scoreboard is used to drive our team meetings, where some of those KPIs on your scorecard should be talked about by everyone every week. That's what ends up on the scoreboard, and that drives our team meetings, right? So that's measuring a process. Okay, so that's just your job description. The numbers are the targets. You're trying to hit that number. There's also projects, okay? So projects are things that need to be done, And any project that we put on the 90-day project planner is our way of saying this project must be done in order for us to achieve our goals this quarter. Okay. An example would be, okay, so we're going to do reactivation, for example. If you do not have a reactivation process in place already, like this is a system. We have a system of reactivation. We do this every day, every week, every month, and every year. These are the things that we do for reactivation that is part and parcel to our SOP or our standard operating procedure. Now, if I'm talking to you right now and you're like, oh, snap, we don't have that. Guess what? That is now a project. And it's like, okay, I'm looking at the checkout CA and I'm like, okay, so you will eventually you'll own the process of reactivation. You'll own the KPI of number of reactivations or percentage of our previously active patients that get reactivated. You're going to own that number, but it's not in place yet. It's not part of the SOP. So your project is, I'm going to establish and define and create SOP and launch our reactivation program. So now it's like, okay, so that's a project for 1 quarter. Once it's in place, then it becomes your process. You're just executing that SOP. We're going to measure it. And Dr. Pete, you're going to have KPIs that show up on the scorecard and, dare I say, on the scoreboard that drive our team meetings. There's a big difference between saying this is a process and this is a project. And we want to make sure that we're differentiating those so that we're not just taking somebody's job description and moving it onto a project planner and just basically defining and unpacking their job description.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.